Ridge Life. On today's lesson from the Ridge, we're going to be talking about Matthew 14, 22 through 33. We're out here on the Ridge Pond today, and as you can see, we've got a mallard hen that's been a decoy that's been floating out here for a while. We had a drake out here, but he got a hole and he sunk. And we dug him out, and so now we've got another drake and another hen decoy. We're gonna float these out here also next to this hen here, and it's gonna be just for decoration. We like coming up here and seeing the ducks out here. So pretty soon we hope to have some real ducks out here on the Ridge Pond. But until then, we'll get these decoys out here, and we'll get into our lessons from the Ridge, talking about Matthew. Okay, we've got our hen there. We're going to put the drake out, and we've got a brick, and the brick's going to pull it over that way. And I got the other hen. We'll see how that looks when they settle out there. May have to separate in a little bit. They're on a long enough rope to let them float a little bit. I may have to move them just a bit. Okay, we've got our ducks set up nicely on the water. I like that formation with the drake there in the middle, guarding his hens. And just a beautiful day, blue skies. It's a little windy. Every once in a while, the wind gust will come up and shake us and push us to the side. But it calms down, and it's just beautiful to be out here on the Ridge Pond. Okay, I'd like to read from Matthew 14, 22 through 33. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he sent the crowds away. After he had sent the crowds away, he went up to the mountain by himself to pray. And when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance away from the land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, and they said, "It's a ghost!" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter said to him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came toward Jesus. But seeing the wind, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took a hold of him and said, You of little faith, why do you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind stopped, and those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "You are certainly God's Son." Again, that's Matthew 14, 22 through 33. Okay, so this takes place right after Jesus fed the multitude. I'm sure you all remember the story of the fish and the bread. And so great miracles have been done. And after this, Jesus sent everyone away, and he went off to pray. So after that, the boat is way out in the water, and Jesus, the storm's starting to come up, and here is Jesus walking on the water. And as the disciples wake, they see this apparition. They see something, a human walking on the water. And how is that possible? It's a ghost. But no, Jesus said, "It is I." So then Peter said, "Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water." Now that takes great faith to say, you see something out on the water walking, and it says it's your Lord, and you kind of recognize him, and you said, "If it is you, tell me to come to you and do what you're doing, this miracle. Come out on the water." That takes great faith. So then Peter steps out onto the water, and he sees his Lord in front of him, and he walks on the water. But as he's walking, he starts to see the wind pushing the waves and the water splashing on him, and everything just, his fear starts to come up. He saw his Lord, he was walking to him in faith on the water, but then the world starts to grab his attention. And what happens when the world grabs your attention? You start to get into the world. You start to get pulled into it. And when you pull into that, you pull away from him. And when you pull away from him, you start to sink. You start to get farther and farther away from him. And that's exactly what Peter did. He started to sink. And what do you do when you sink? You say, "Lord, save me." And what happened? Jesus saved him. He reached down in the water and pulled him to safety. So after Peter's in the boat, Jesus looks to him and says, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" That's so profound. We love our Jesus, we love our Christ, and we follow him, and then when the storm hits, we get distracted in our own wants, wishes, and worries. We don't focus on him, we focus on the world, and we fall. And all we have to do is not doubt, have faith in him, and we can walk on water. We don't have to see him in our eyesight. We see him every day in the nature, in the beauty. Just like these ducks, they float. And there's something in them that allows them to float. But if they get a hole, and whatever that is starts to be filled up with something else, water in this case, they lose their buoyancy and they start to sink. It's the same thing with our faith. When we're full of the Lord, when we're walking with him, we are so high up on the water. But when we let other things come in, it's not that we're letting our faith out, we're letting other things in. And as it displaces the faith within us, we start to sink. And it's a terrible thing to have that feeling that you're drowning. But to know, like Peter, Lord, save me, and he will save you, is the most wonderful gift of mercy and grace there was ever given on this earth. To know that the Lord will save us when we're drowning. And just like today, I came out and I replaced the one sinking drake with another drake and another beautiful hen. The Lord provides, the Lord replenishes. He will do the same thing within you. He will replenish and provide everything you need to be a beautiful, beautiful bird on the water. So as we finish up today reading Matthew 14, 22 through 23, the last verse, and those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, you are certainly God's son. And that is certainly the case, that we should worship him as God's son, because he brought us out of the storm, lifted us up when the wind blew like it is now, and saved us, brought us back into the boat to be with him forever. So just like Peter, will you walk out in faith, or will you step out and sink? So just like Peter, will you walk out in faith, or will you step out and sink? That was cold. That was cold. So until next time, I hope everyone has a blessed day, and go RidgeLife. That was cold. That was cold. So until next time, I hope everyone has a blessed day, and go RidgeLife.